Instructions for Fodbits Drilling Tapping Self-Tightening Chuck. Before and after use. 1. Before use, clean the part connecting the chuck and the spindle of the main unit. 2. When not in use, take rust prevention measures to prevent the chuck from rusting, affecting its quality. Precautions during use. 1. Rotate the hex nut to the bottom until it cannot rotate anymore. 2. When installing the drill rod and the self-tightening chuck, gently tap the flexible surface to ensure that it is firmly connected. 3. When installing the chuck onto the main unit, the 3 claws of the chuck must be retracted into the chuck body. Knock the front face of the chuck body with a soft plastic or wooden rod until the chuck is firmly connected to the main unit. 4. When clamping the screw tap, remove the square part of the shank for more stable and secure clamping effect. 5. When clamping the bit with the chuck, the length of the shank clamped by the chuck should not be less than 23 of the length of the jaw's gripping edge. 6. When processing products of single specification for a long time, loosen the bit once every 3 hours to prevent the jaw thread from cracking due to fatigue. 7. When processing deep and long holes, promptly remove the chips. Do not drill to the final depth in one go. 8. When processing blind holes, make sure that the screw tap does not touch the bottom of the hole to prevent damaging the chuck or breaking the screw tap if the screw tap is stuck. 9. During the machining process, pay attention to the cutting feed rate to avoid excessive feed and a stuck bit, which may damage the bit or chuck. 10. When the emergency hole and the housing hole unaligned, it is in clamped state. When are aligned, the chuck is in a loosened state. 11. When disassembling the chuck from the drilling rod, rotate the disassembly nut to disassemble the chuck from the top. Possible problems and solutions. Slippage and its solution. When clamping thin or short drill bits, the bit may occasionally move along the axial direction. When clamping bits with higher shank hardness, occasional radial slippage may occur. The solution is as follows. Insert a cross screwdriver with diameter of 6 mm or cylindrical steel rod into the emergency hole of the chuck body, and rotate it towards the direction in which the chuck clamps the bit to increase the initial clamping force to further clamp the bit. The emergency holes are misaligned when working and aligned when released. Increase the spindle speed of the machine to quickly increase the clamping force. If the axial slippage of small bits cannot be solved by the above method, please replace the bit with a new lengthened one of the same specification and insert it into the bottom of the chuck. The chuck cannot be loosened by hand and its solution. The chuck cannot be manually loosened. Insert a cross screwdriver with diameter of 6 mm or cylindrical steel rod into the emergency hole of the chuck body and rotate it toward the release direction to loosen the bit. If it still cannot be turned, return it to the factory for repair during the warranty period. Prohibitions description. 1. Do not directly knock the chuck with a hammer or other hard object when assembling or disassembling it. 2. The clamping length may not be less than 23 of the length of the jaw's gripping edge when clamping the bit. 3. Do not clamp the outer shell of the chuck with pipe tongs, etc. 4. Do not operate the chuck before the spindle of the machine has stopped. 5. Do not allow the screw tap to touch the bottom of blind holes. 6. Do not clamp drill bits with shank hardness higher than HRC 58. 7. Do not operate overloaded.